From the look on Brad's face, Amber knew that his libido was in full control of his psyche. Although she had blunted his desire slightly by filling his gut, mere popcorn could not stop what was to come. She sat down beside him after giving little Jimmy his bottle and allowed Brad to pull him towards her in a full embrace. A moment later, his tongue was exploring her mouth in the most sensuous French kiss Brad could employ. Brad was more than gratified to feel her responding to him and leaned deep into his arms. Her hand found his crotch and began slowly and methodically massaging him. She pushed her tongue into his mouth in return and began exploring his oral anatomy as well. Slowly she unzipped his pants and carefully worked his manhood out of the narrow opening of his cotton brief without stopping her tongue's explorations of his mouth. Once she had it free, she began to gently stroke his erect manhood with her fingertips while baby Jimmy looked on through the mesh of his playpen. Andrew was in a combination of a blue funk over his loss of sexuality and the sight of a woman he wanted to bed so desperately, manually relieving the sexual needs of his adult rival. When she put her lips down to Brad's manhood and began to suck, Andrew wanted to scream and moan in envy and loss simultaneously, but his loss of control of his vocal cords forced him to remain silent. In the place that Andrew wanted to occupy, Brad made the same sound of excitement mixed with contentment. His legs spread wide and he shuddered as he neared climax. It was only the gnawing hunger that growled in his stomach that made Andrew nurse while he witnessed the scene in front of him. As he suckled the nipple of his bottle of formula, his body began its own sequence of actions that would lead to the form of physical pleasure that was normal for an infant. Initially, the small stiff walls of his infant bladder cut loose as cystic pressure from the influx of urine from his kidneys reached a critical point to cause the weak sphincter of babyhood to release. Then he emitted a small fart as a soft stool pushed its way past his flaccid anal sphincter and dropped into the bottom of the diaper he was wearing. The stimulation of the small bowel movement passing his anus triggered his lower intestine to continue, and all at once, Andrew was voiding the contents of his bowels into his diaper. Although Andrew was horrified by what he was doing in front of the two teenage strangers, the waves of pleasure that his infant subconscious personality felt as it relieved itself into the confines of the soft, absorbent loinclout without restraint. As each stool was released by the flaccid anal muscles that normally kept his rectum closed, he felt a silent jerk tug at his waist as the mass of the stool piled itself on top of the growing weight of feces that had passed seconds before and rested warmly at the bottom of his diaper. Despite himself, the temporary euphoria that his infant side of his personality felt filtered through to his adult personality and gave Andrew a warm sensation of pleasure that rolled up his spine and shook the bedrock of his personality. The shame and mortification that Andrew felt was almost exactly balanced by the extreme physical pleasure that his infant body had wrought. Just as Brad orgasmed, Amber took her lips from his penis and covered it with a clean diaper she had secreted by her side in the corner of the couch. Brad's bottom jerked convulsively against the cushion of the couch as his pent-up semen was released into the soft absorbent folds of the disposable diaper Amber held. When Brad stopped spurting semen, Amber took the clean part of the diaper and tenderly wiped the tip of his penis dry before rolling the diaper into a neat bundle and taping it shut in the same way she treated her charged wet diapers. First Brad, then Andrew sighed in utter contentment at the release of their demanding physical urges. Catching a sniff of the baby's diaper, Amber gave Brad a chaste kiss on his forehead and told him that Keosoen was due home any minute and that she couldn't be caught with her boyfriend's pants unzipped while he sat on the couch. Brad reluctantly pushed his semi-erect penis back into his briefs and zipped up his pants before he got up from the couch. She walked him to the front door and let him kiss her goodbye at the front door before shutting and locking it behind him. Although Brad had his physical needs satisfied by Amber, he left the house wanting more. He had wanted to get into her panties that night and she had somehow maneuvered him into letting himself get jacked off like a freshman dweeb instead of taking her the way he had planned. I wanted her surrender to me tonight, by God, he thought to himself, as if nothing else would do. Who does the hell does she think she is, running me out like that? No one's ever done that to me before. She acts like she cares more about that stupid baby than she does about me. Hell. I'm captain of the football team, she should feel honored that I'd take the time to screw her. Fuck. I'm going to have to give Fred that $25 I bet him. That bitch. She hasn't heard the last of me, by God. I'll have her kneeling on the floor at my feet and opening her blouse to me while she begs me to suck her tits before I'm done. As he got into his hand-lacquered, candy apple red, fully equipped, supercab, long bed pickup truck, he said to no one in particular, "Fucking cock-teasing whore." Then he tore off down the street at full rev, squealing his tires in anger and disappointment as he sped down the street in a fit of teenaged fury. By the time that Amber got back, Andrew was teary-eyed at both his embarrassment over his dirty diaper and his apparent abandonment at the hands of his beloved babysitter. When she returned, Andrew greeted her in a sophomoric attempt to get her to notice him, having forgotten the sad condition of the disposable diaper that sagged heavily between his legs. Andrew gurgled in greeting, hoping that she would pay attention to him now that his rival was gone. Amber returned to the family room and picked him up by the arms and held him to her chest as she carried him up to the nursery to change his dirty diaper. As she climbed the stairs, Andrew whimpered fretfully as he realized the reason for the trip to the nursery. Andrew suddenly comprehended that she had no intention of taking him to bed to cuddle him and relieve him of his sexual desire. She was going to change his diapers.